Hey, Perry Jeffries here, the entrepreneur CFO, president of Diamond Equity Advisors. Hope all is well. So, I'm frequently asked the question of, "Hey Perry, I want to start investing. What should I do? Where should I start?" And unfortunately, advisors in my industry have made this seem like it's a very difficult and daunting task, and it really isn't. So, with this video, I'm just going to share some basic concepts around investing and how to get started. So, when most people think about investing, or if they come to me and ask about investing, they're usually talking about how to get invested, start investing in the stock market because they see what's going on in the news, and they see all the charts and the red and the green, and they know there's some opportunity in there to make some money, but they're not quite comfortable with the concept and how to go about doing it. So in this video, we're just going to break down some simple concepts so that you can at least start that journey. So allow me to share this here with you. So your first step with respects to investing is this. Anyone who knows me know that I will always um, go to, do you have a plan? So whether you're a youngster and you're looking to start investing, or you learn more about investing, you're 12, 13 years old, whether you're someone my age, in your 30s or 40s, or even if you're someone who's about to retire, you need to have some type of plan and strategy. So if you were to start building your home, your ideal dream home from scratch, you wouldn't just start going to Home Depot and grabbing lumber and nails and throwing stuff up. You would actually have a plan before you started to build. So with that plan, what we've done is kind of taken that and simplified it in a way that everybody can digest. So whether you're, a high school freshman or a retiree who's worked 30, 40 years, here's some basic concept for you. So when you can create your plan, we like to use buckets. And we break those buckets down into a now bucket, a soon bucket, and a later on bucket. So great. Now bucket is going to be your safe liquid money. So when you talk about safe liquid money, this is going to be dollars that you keep over in, like, the savings account, checking account, things of that nature. So money that you never have to worry about losing any principal. And also liquid dollars, so money that you can get money hand on right now. So for some people, maybe that's having 3 months of their expenses set aside. For a youngster, who's in high school, maybe this is just having money that that you're going to spend to buy that car. So if you need $1,000 for your car and you're going to buy that in the next 0 to 12 months, well, then that's not money that you invest. So the understanding is this: you should not be investing money that you're going to need in a year or less. Because the one thing you know about the market is that it goes up and down. Now, over long periods of time, it tends to trend upward. But short periods of time, you may have some dips, and you have to be prepared for that. So if you need money within 0 to 12 months, those aren't dollars you want to invest. That rule is for any and everybody, regardless of age. So whether you're a young person, middle-aged person like myself, retiree, if you need dollars within the first in 0 to 12 months, you set those dollars aside into a savings account or a money market account at a bank or something along those lines, and you leave those dollars there. And yes, I know we all want to make our money grow, but we do not want to be risky with money that we need in a year or less. So that's the first bucket. So have an emergency account set up. Youngsters, if this is you, this is where you want to have your money set aside. So maybe your parents is your emergency fund. So you don't really have a bunch of expenses yet. Well, anything that you need for the next year, you set that aside in a money market account or a savings account. Next bucket you have is your soon bucket. So this is money that you're going to need in, say, 2 to 10 years. So if you're saving money, you're going to need this 5 years to buy a house, you want to invest it, but you want to invest it in a conservative fashion. So maybe you're looking at some type of conservative investment account, maybe like a mutual fund, a balanced mutual fund, or something along those lines. And there's a bunch of different ways to invest conservatively. I won't go into it all in this video, but just understand in the soon bucket, anything you need in 2 to 10 years, you want to be more conservative. And then your later on bucket, so this is money that you don't plan on touching for maybe 10 years or later, that's when you can be more aggressive. And then just spend some time to understand what I mean by more aggressive. When we look at kind of like the continuum of, what's aggressive and what's conservative, your cash and savings accounts and money market accounts and checking accounts is going to be your most conservative investment. Then your most aggressive investment is going to be investing potentially in individual stocks. And then in between is where you have investments. So maybe it's a combination of some stocks and some bonds or cash. So it's not all 100% aggressive, but maybe 50-50, 60-40. So that's what I mean by that. Now that we kind of understand that, first things first, now, soon, later bucket. So before anyone can invest with me and they say, hey, Perry, I have some money. I want to do something with it. I want to grow it. My initial question is going to be, so is this money that's going to go in the now bucket, the soon bucket, and the later on bucket? Because that then determines where my recommendation comes from. Okay, so that's first things first. Now, let's get out of this screen. And I'm going to take you guys someplace else. So then I'll get asked this question. Well, Perry, I have some money set aside in emergency fund. I'm comfortable with that. Have money set aside when I'm needed in the next, 0 to 12 months, and I want to invest in some stocks. Well, let's first understand what stocks are. When you own a stock, you essentially own a part of a company. So if you own, say, some Apple stock, even though you may only own one share of Apple, you are actually a part owner of that company. So if Apple stock does well, then you probably see your stock do well. If Apple is not doing well and the earnings are poor or it's not doing well in the marketplace and the value of the company is going down, you may see the value of your stock go down. So when you go to purchase a stock, you want to think about, purchasing a stock in a company that, one, you're familiar with. So I know a lot of folks want to find what's the hot stock pick. I get asked that question all the time. And for someone who's looking to invest as a first-time investor, I would say this. I believe in common sense investing. If you're going to invest in something where you're already spending your money. Okay. So if you go to McDonald's every day and you're buying a McDonald's coffee and you take advantage of that all-day breakfast and getting a sausage McMuffin, then you might want to consider purchasing possibly some McDonald's stock. If you're a Nike enthusiast and you have every pair of Jordans versus going to buying the shoes, maybe look at buying a stock. So I'm saying when you purchase a stock, again, you're buying into that company. Now, someone say, well, Perry, how much should I buy? It varies for everybody. So one, you have to understand that that individual stock has a certain price at this very time and moment. And when you make that decision to purchase that stock, you're buying at that time and moment. Well, later on the day, that stock may go up, stock may go down, may go up and down for the next couple of weeks. But you purchase it at that price, and then now that price of that stock is moved by how well the company is doing. And again, none of us have a crystal ball to say, hey, this is the hot stock pick or this is what you need to buy. But if you take a step back and look at where you're spending your money, that will probably give you a great indicator of where you need to start thinking about investing. So I've mentioned Nike stock. Okay, so let me share a story with you here. So everybody's familiar with Nike, swoosh, sign, just do it, right? So let's do a quick history lesson on Nike. Share a screen here with you. Okay, so if you didn't know, Nike was actually created in 1971. So it's really not that old of a company when you look at it. We created in 1971, and that was 9 years before the company went public. Now, if you had $1,000 when Nike had went public, so when a company goes public, not all companies are publicly traded. So like my company, my Diamond Equity Advisor, that is a private company, which means there's no stockholders or shareholders, if you will. It's held within the family. But when a company goes public, now it's available for individuals like you and I to actually invest in the company and share that ownership with respect to the growth that the company experiences, right? So and you had taken $1,000, not 1,000 shares, just $1,000 and invested in Nike at its initial public offering, when it went public in 1980. In 2015, that $1,000 would have grown to $729,575. So almost $730,000 off investing $1,000 at one time. Okay, that's how well Nike has done over that time frame. Now, we're going to learn a couple different things with this Nike stock. Now, one, again, none of us had a crystal ball, had no idea Nike was going to do that with them. But how many other companies do we see doing extremely well that we could invest in today? You know, you have your Apples, you have your Facebook, you have your Netflix. You know, think about where you're spending your dollars. Do you go to shop at Costco? You go shopping at Costco once a week. Well, maybe look at buying Costco stock. You know, do you shop at Walmart every Christmas? You know, around Christmas time, you know, what companies are doing extremely well. You know, your Best Buys of the world, Amazon. So, you know, I tell the story about when I first, my wife and I first started living with each other, and we started celebrating our first holiday. I came home from work every day to an Amazon box, Amazon Prime. Because she works long hours, she does most of her shopping online. So every day for probably about 30 to 45 days, there was a box at the porch. And I said to her, I said, well, you know what? If you're spending this much money with Amazon Prime, then it probably makes sense for us to buy you some Amazon stock. And I think we bought the stock maybe around $850 per share. And I think that stock today has grown to about $1,500 to $1,600 per share. So not only was she saving time, energy, and money by using the Amazon Prime service, but now she's actually experiencing growth and making gains and watching her money grow as that company continues to grow, and has done extremely well over the past couple of months. So something to think about. Now, with the stock, going back to Nike here, had you purchased $1,000 worth of stock when it went public, you're at $730,000. Now, Nike eventually started to pay a dividend. So folks ask me all the time, like, Harry, what's a dividend? Well, what a dividend is when a publicly traded company says, you know what, we're going to actually compensate you for owning shares of our stock. So as we're growing and receiving profits, we're going to actually share some of those profits with the shareholders in the form of dividends. So for every share of stock you own, maybe you're receiving 50 cents per share or $1 per share. So it's almost like you're receiving rental income. So you own the stock and you're able to, and every quarter or so you get paid a dividend. Well, going back to this Nike example right here, had you invested that same $1,000, and when Nike started paying a dividend in 1984, if you had just said, you know what, don't pay that dividend to me, just take that dividend, that cash that you were going to pay me, Nike, and reinvest that and buy more Nike shares. If you had done that as of 2015, you would have had $4.4 million off of investing $1,000 one time and just reinvesting in dividends. So that's what you see. That's the power of compound interest and having long-term growth. So you see, it's not about, hey, you have to have millions of dollars to invest in the market, but you do need to invest in the market. And also too, you need to have some time on your side. So the more time that you have, the better shape you can be in. So $1,000 invested over that long period of time, from 1984 when it started paying that cash, 1980 and then 84 when it started paying the dividend to 2015 or so, you will have $4.4 million in your account. Not a bad deal. Now again, we can all look in that rearview mirror and say, man, I wish I had done that. Well, what can you do now? What can you do now? What companies are you seeing growing extremely well now? Where do you see people spending their money? Again, it's not a complicated conversation. It's actually very simple. Okay. So let me show you some things here. I have another screen up. So that's an individual stock. And it's just as simple as doing this. So you may say, well, Perry, is it too late to buy Nike now? Well, all of us know how to use Google. Any company that you want to look at, just look up the stock price. So if you look up the stock price, what is Nike selling for today? You can buy Nike, one share of Nike stock, you can buy for $68.65. That's less than a pair of Jordans. So think about it. You see people buying Jordans for $200 and $300 a pair. Well, for that same amount of money, you could probably own 3 to 5 shares of Nike stock. Okay. And again, here's the dividend that it's currently paying right now. So it's paying almost a 1.17% dividend, better than what you're gonna make on most savings accounts at this day and time. And then when you look at it, you can see how it's done here over the past 5 years. So in 2013, it was selling about $29.55. And today it's selling at, $68 or so. So that's how you buy individual stocks. So if you want to buy that individual stock, you want to buy 1 share of Nike, you would have to spend, $68 to get that 1 share of Nike. If you want to buy more shares of Nike, you want to buy 10 shares of Nike, then you have to spend $680. But you can buy 1 share. If that's where you are right now, start where you are. Now, some folks will be like, Perry, that kind of scares me trying to buy individual stock because I'm not that comfortable picking and choosing. Where there's a lot of different ways that you can get into investing without, having to pick and choose. So one way is purchasing a mutual fund. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of conversation around this whole mutual fund piece because it can get very detailed. But with respects to mutual funds, the way a mutual fund is different from a stock. When you own a stock, you own one stock, which means you're basing everything off of how that stock performs. So everything's, you buy that 1 share of Nike, you're worried about what Nike stock is doing. You're not worried what the Dow Jones Industrial Index is doing or the S&P 500. You're worried about that one stock. When you buy a mutual fund, what a mutual fund is a bucket of a bunch of different stocks. So you don't have to go in and pick one. You can pick one mutual fund that buys a whole bunch of stock and just buy shares of that mutual fund. So you can do that as well. So I have a mutual fund right here. And this isn't a recommendation. I'm just showing you one that I've purchased in the past for myself and for some clients. So this is the JP Morgan Equity Income Fund. So it's a 5-star fund. It does pretty well. And not going to confuse you and get into a lot of information here. But, costs $1,000 minimum investment to get started. Then after that, you can do like $25 or $50 a month, if you will, something along those lines. But when you look at this fund here, in 2009, this is where it was running. And you can kind of see that growth in it. So this mutual fund right here buys a bunch of stocks that pay dividends. That's what it typically buys, is dividend paying stocks. Large cap value stocks, and some of the names that's in there: Bank of America, PNC, Microsoft, and probably has maybe 100 some other different stocks in it or so. But it's done pretty well. If we look at it here from a performance standpoint, you come up here and look at performance just to see what it's done here. Okay, so when we look at it here, here's the fund. Over the past 15 years, it's averaged 9.26%. That is pretty darn good. For the past 5 years, it averaged 10.65. Now, granted, it has some up and down years because funds and stocks are going to have their up and down years, but that's what its average has been. Okay, so if we look here, in 2015 it was down. 2000, if we went back and saw 2007, 2008, it was definitely down during that time. But again, when you're investing, are you investing for the long term, 10 years plus, or are you investing for the short term? So, like, case in point, this fund right now is down negative 2.5% year to date. So it's down. So if you had just put your money in January and now it's May, and you were to take your money out, you would be taking your money out at a loss. But again, if you were investing this for a longer period of time, you're looking at getting an average of, almost 10% a year. Not bad. So that's the difference between a stock and a mutual fund. So a stock is one individual company, where a mutual fund, you're purchasing multiple stocks inside that one fund. So you don't have to track all the stocks. Okay. Last but not least here, when I first got into the industry 15 years ago, we didn't have a lot of these new apps and things that we have now. And one that I've heard really good feedback on is Robinhood. Had a friend of mine come up to me at the gym and say, "Hey, Perry, I want you to look at my portfolio." He pulled out his Robinhood app and he showed me where he was purchasing individual stocks. So, apps like this and some of the other apps out there give you the opportunity to learn how to start investing where you are. So if you don't have a lot of money, I believe with this app right here, you can start with as little as $5. So before you start working with, maybe a financial advisor and paying for that type of service and whatnot, maybe this is a good place for you to start right here. I would always recommend having a financial advisor just to pick, get some ideas from and some education and things of that nature. But maybe this is where you start, you know what I'm saying, just to kind of get your feet wet and get comfortable. And as you start to grow and whatnot, start building your wealth team. So that's your financial advisor, your accountants and things along those lines, right? But, videos like this and education and getting online and reading and whatnot, there's a lot of information out there available to you for free to start that process. But understanding, if you keep in mind the now, soon, and later strategy, that's a good place to start. And then start thinking about where you're actually spending your dollars. If you were to look at your checking account or your debit card activity, where are you spending your money every day? Where are you spending your money every month? So that'd be a good place for you to start. So then you think about things like, your cell phone, is it an Apple phone? Am I paying for, Apple Music? Um, is it your computer? Are you working on an HP? Do you see a bunch of people working on an HP? Your cell phone, your energy, what I'm saying? All of us have electricity flowing through our home. Have you thought about investing in an electric company like an AEP or somewhere on those lines? So wherever you are spending money, there's an opportunity for you to actually invest your money. So that's all I have for right now. Again, Perry Jeffries here, the Entrepreneur CFO. I hope this video was helpful to get you started on your journey. And then, as always, you can feel free to reach out to me and I can provide you with some resources and some additional education information as you continue on that wealth creation journey. So again, you know how to contact me, CFO@perryjeffries.com. You can go to perryjeffries.com and contact us there and schedule a consultation. And we just look forward to being able to serve you and help you create that nest egg and that lifestyle that you and your family deserve. All right. God bless.